My grandfather was in a robe on a high marble altar in a big glass church. And I used to preach in flip-flops and shorts, but the church wouldn't let me anywhere. But I like to, our church the pulpit's the lowest part of the building, so the building goes down, and I try and just get to know people. The most important lesson I learned is that a pastor in America needs to be a missionary, and that you can't reach people unless you speak their language. Am I talking as a religious person to religious people, or am I talking as a normal person who's been touched by God to other everyday people? And it's the latter that I'm trying to achieve, and it's a constant struggle. When I was growing up, my dad actually put zero pressure on me to go into ministry. In fact, I think he might have received a lot of pressure from his dad. In other words, Dr. Schuller put a lot of pressure on my dad. I know he did, to go into ministry. And so I think my dad responded to that by saying, do whatever you want, go into business, pursue anything. And he almost went overboard, almost felt like he didn't want me to go into ministry. And I sometimes wonder if subconsciously that's the very reason I wanted to go into ministry, is because I sensed my dad didn't want me to, in a way, I think what happened was when they passed the torch from my grandfather to my dad, I think a lot of my aunts didn't like it. Maybe they weren't sure how my dad was going to lead. And then at the same time, we didn't know it at the time, but my grandfather was suffering from Alzheimer's. So there was a mix of confusion about who was supposed to do what, and it created a lot of just tension, to the point that my dad resigned because he just felt that he couldn't really lead effectively. It was essentially just family dynamics not working out, unfortunately. When I came in to pastor at the cathedral, it was in bankruptcy, and I was sort of told that we were going to close the doors any day. So I had started a separate church. It was in the city. It was geared in large part to help homeless people, not homeless people, but it was a very sort of social church in a way. So we did a lot of work with various needs in the urban part of the city. It was a small church of about 120 people. And as the Crystal Cathedral was winding down, they said, we just need somebody to give a sermon, for the next few weeks. So I took one service, and then another pastor named Lawrence took the other service, and we just did it as a team in the hopes to just kind of shepherd the ministry to a close. But the exact opposite happened. People started coming back again. At this point, I'm the only Schuller working at the ministry, so I did a lot of things right away to re-earn the trust. So I have no family members working at the ministry. It was very hard in the moment to let go, but I actually think it's been really good for our local church to not have the Crystal Cathedral, honestly. The main reason is I think so much of our identity was wrapped up in a building rather than wrapped up in an idea. And I think we've recaptured the idea of giving people a positive message, of bringing people to know Jesus Christ, to connect with God deeply. And for the local church, we've remembered that the church is made of living stones. Not of brick and mortar, or not of glass and steel, I might say. Television it's expensive, but for the huge audience that you reach, it's actually pretty cheap. We pay about 5 cents for every viewer that watches our program. TV is so great because it's random. So, for example, if you go to bed on Saturday night and you're watching Dancing with the Stars, and then you wake up on Sunday morning and you pour your cereal and you just turn the TV on, there's Hour of Power. And you weren't looking for religion, you weren't looking for religious broadcasts, but maybe, the music or something I say catches the person. They're like, okay, I'll sit with this for 30 seconds while they eat their cereal. And we got so many stories of people like that. And the internet doesn't do that in a way. The internet is intentional. You type in a website, you Google something, but you almost never accidentally land on a website you didn't mean to go to. And if you do, you're annoyed.